Commander Veronica Rydell's fingers tightened around the holographic display controls as the massive Drovidian dreadnought appeared on the view screen. 15 kilometers of gleaming obsidian metal armed with enough firepower to glass an entire continent. Behind it, 4 more identical warships emerged from slipspace. "Status report," she demanded, voice steady despite the cold fear trickling down her spine. Lieutenant Aiden Nazari looked up from his console, face ashen. "All 5 dreadnoughts have locked weapons on the colony. Orbital defense platforms are offline. We're getting emergency transmissions from New Thessaly. 8 million civilians down there, Commander." The bridge of the UES Intrepid fell silent. Their frigate, barely a tenth the size of a single enemy vessel, was the only thing standing between the Drovidian Imperium and humanity's newest colony world. "Open a channel," Veronica ordered. The holographic image of Admiral Krazoth appeared, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the lights of his command center. Multiple compound eyes regarded her with cold calculation. "Human vessel," the translator rendered his clicks and whistles into English. "The Drovidian Imperium claims this sector. Your species has violated Imperium space. Surrender your colony for immediate processing." Veronica knew what processing meant. The Drovidians were methodical consumers, harvesting both biological and technological resources with ruthless efficiency. Every human colony they'd encountered had been systematically stripped bare, the inhabitants never seen again. "This is Commander Veronica Rydell of the United Earthship Intrepid. New Thessaly is a civilian settlement established within boundaries set by the Galactic Concord. We have legal claim to this system." "Legal claims are irrelevant," Krazoth responded. "Humans are an aberration. Your continued expansion threatens Imperium interests. We have studied your species for decades. You are physically weak. Your technology is inferior. Your military capabilities are negligible." "You will be processed," Aiden whispered. "Commander, we can't fight them. Not even with the Prometheus Protocol." The Prometheus Protocol, Earth's most classified weapons system. A last resort measure that the Imperium knew nothing about. "Not yet." "Admiral," Veronica said carefully, "I suggest you consult your intelligence archives more thoroughly. There's something about humans you've clearly missed." Krazoth's mandibles twitched in what the crew recognized as Drovidian amusement. "We have dissected 342 of your kind. We have analyzed your physiology, psychology, and technology. There are no unknowns." Veronica smiled grimly. "Then you've missed the most important part. I'm initiating emergency diplomatic protocols. You have 1 hour to withdraw your forces." The transmission cut. Aiden looked at her with wide eyes. "Diplomatic protocols? We don't have diplomatic protocols for this scenario." "No," Veronica agreed. "But we need time. Get me a secure channel to Earth Command, and prepare to deploy Operative Casimir." Beneath the Intrepid, in a specialized holding chamber, the ship's most classified asset waited in meditative silence. Not a weapon, in the conventional sense. Not technology that could be scanned or detected. Just a single human being with abilities the Drovidians couldn't begin to comprehend. What the Imperium didn't understand, what none of humanity's enemies had discovered, was that a small percentage of humans had developed something unprecedented after centuries of space exploration. Something that defied conventional science. The Drovidians had studied human bodies but had never glimpsed the power that slumbered within some human minds. As the dreadnoughts moved into attack formation, Operative Leonid Casimir opened his eyes. The secret weapon of humanity was about to be unleashed. Leonid Casimir stood in the Intrepid's deployment chamber, a Spartan room with reinforced walls and specialized dampening fields. At 43, he didn't look like a weapon. Average build, graying at the temples with tired eyes that had seen too much. The only unusual features were the neural implants at his temples, barely visible beneath the skin. "Operative status?" Veronica asked through the intercom. "Ready, Commander," Leonid replied, his voice revealing a slight Martian accent. "Though I wish we had more than just me. There were only 53 confirmed residents in the entire United Earth Alliance, humans, whose brains had somehow adapted to manipulate quantum fields after prolonged exposure to exotic particles in deep space. Leonid was among the most powerful, but even he had limits. The colony's defense grid is completely offline, Veronica informed him. Earth Command has authorized full deployment protocols. Leonid nodded. 5 dreadnoughts. That's ambitious. Can you handle it? I've never tried anything close to this scale, he admitted. But it's not like we have options. On the bridge, Aiden monitored the Dravidian fleet's movements. They're deploying landing craft. First wave will reach the colony in 15 minutes. Veronica made her decision. Begin the countermeasure. Divert all non-essential power to the amplification arrays. Throughout the Intrepid, lights dimmed as energy flowed into specialized equipment designed to enhance a resonance abilities. The technology wasn't the weapon, it merely supported what Leonid could already do naturally. In the deployment chamber, Leonid closed his eyes as the neural implants activated, creating a quantum-entangled link between his consciousness and the amplification system. His perception expanded beyond the physical confines of the ship, stretching outward like invisible tendrils. Admiral Krazoth watched the human frigate with disdain. His intelligence officers had analyzed the vessel thoroughly. No significant weapons, minimal shield capacity, outdated propulsion. The humans were stalling, perhaps waiting for reinforcements that couldn't possibly arrive in time. Begin the first harvesting wave, he ordered. Target civilian infrastructure. The lead dreadnought's main cannon powered up, gathering energy, for a devastating first strike against the colony's central hub. Krazoth had overseen 17 such harvesting operations against various species. The pattern was always the same. Destroy communication centers first, then power generation, then defense installations. Systematic. Efficient. Suddenly, his tactical officer clicked in alarm. Admiral, detecting unusual energy readings from the human vessel. Krazoth turned to the sensor displays. Weapons? Negative. I don't understand these readings. Some kind of quantum disturbance. On the Intrepid, Leonid's body tensed as sweat beaded on his forehead. His consciousness brushed against the vast hulls of the enemy dreadnoughts, feeling their composition, their structure, the atomic bonds holding their matter together. I've established contact, he reported through gritted teeth. Beginning primary sequence. The Dravidian weapons officer aboard the lead dreadnought was the first to notice something wrong. The firing sequence for the main cannon suddenly displayed errors across his console. The energy buildup became unstable, fluctuating wildly. Engineering reports anomalies in the power core, a subordinate reported to Krazoth. The quantum containment. Fields are experiencing unexplained interference. Before Krazoth could respond, alarms blared throughout the massive vessel. On the command deck, navigational systems went haywire. Gravity plating malfunctioned. Life support systems reported critical failures. And the Intrepid just sat there seemingly doing nothing. What is happening? Krazoth demanded. No one had an answer. No one understood that a single human mind was reaching into the quantum structure of their ships, introducing subtle disruptions that cascaded into critical system failures. This was humanity's secret weapon, the ability to reach across space and manipulate reality at its most fundamental level. Not through technology that could be copied or countered, but through evolved human consciousness that the Dravidians couldn't even detect, let alone understand. The first dreadnought's engines flared erratically as Leonid's mind unraveled the patterns holding their containment fields stable. Primary target systems compromised, Leonid reported, voice strained. Blood trickled from his nose, painting a crimson line down to his chin. Moving to secondary targets. On the Intrepid's bridge, Veronica watched in grim satisfaction as the lead Dravidian dreadnought's lights flickered. Its massive form drifted out of formation, main weapons powering down as emergency protocols engaged throughout the vessel. They're confused, Aiden reported, monitoring Dravidian communications. They're scanning for electronic warfare, viruses, conventional attacks. They have no idea what's happening. That was the genius of the resonance. Their abilities operated on principles the Dravidians couldn't detect with any known technology. As far as humanity knew, no other species had developed similar capabilities. It wasn't technology that could be reverse-engineered or a weapon that could be neutralized. Admiral Krezoth's compound eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. 4 of his dreadnoughts remained operational, but the flagship was experiencing catastrophic systems failures. Nothing made sense. The human vessel wasn't firing weapons, wasn't launching fighters, wasn't doing anything their sensors could detect. "Launch boarding parties to the human ship," he ordered. I want it captured intact. Dropships detached from the second dreadnought, accelerating toward the Intrepid. Whatever the humans were doing, Krezoth would discover their secrets. "Incoming hostiles," Aiden warned. "Dravidian boarding craft approaching." Veronica nodded. "They're adapting. Lieutenant Nazari, prepare defense teams, and inform Operative Casimir." In the deployment chamber, Leonid acknowledged the update. His consciousness was stretched thin, maintaining disruption effects on the first dreadnought while beginning to influence the second. The neural implants at his temples glowed faintly as they channeled his abilities, amplifying what his evolved brain could accomplish. He shifted focus briefly, his mind brushing against the approaching boarding craft. With surgical precision, he introduced subtle errors into their navigation systems, not enough to destroy them, but enough to send them veering off course, missing the Intrepid entirely. On the third dreadnought, the Dravidian engineering chief reported to his captain with growing alarm. "Essential systems are experiencing unexplained quantum fluctuations. The effects match what's happening to the flagship." The captain clicked furiously. "How are the humans doing this? Scan their vessel again." The scans showed nothing unusual. Just a small outdated frigate with minimal weapons and standard shielding. No exotic energy signatures, no unusual radiation, nothing that explained what was happening to the Dravidian fleet. What the scans couldn't detect was Leonid's consciousness spreading through the quantum field, introducing chaos into perfectly ordered systems, creating ripples in the fabric of reality that manifested as critical malfunctions throughout the Dravidian vessels. Back on the Intrepid, Veronica received an urgent communication from Dr. Ilara Frost, the ship's medical officer. "Commander, Casimir's neural patterns are becoming dangerously unstable," Dr. Frost reported. "He's pushing beyond recommended thresholds. If he continues at this intensity, we risk permanent neural damage or worse." Veronica gripped the arms of her command chair. Every resonant operation carried significant risks. The human mind wasn't designed to perceive and manipulate quantum fields directly. Even with the neural implants, the strain could be deadly. "Understood," she replied. "How much longer can he maintain?" 20 minutes at most before we reach critical thresholds. After that, I cannot guarantee his survival." Veronica opened a channel to the deployment chamber. "Leonid, medical is reporting. Concerning readings, we need to consider a controlled withdrawal." Through gritted teeth, Leonid responded, "Not yet. I've only neutralized 2 of their ships. Give me more time. Your neural patterns are approaching critical levels. 8 million. People down there, Commander," he reminded her. "I can handle it." On the view screen, the second Dravidian dreadnought began to list to one side, its massive engines sputtering as quantum fluctuations spread throughout its systems. The boarding craft that had been launched earlier drifted aimlessly, their guidance systems compromised. Admiral Krezoth faced the unthinkable, 2 of his most powerful warships disabled by an enemy that, by all appearances, wasn't even attacking. His mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation as he considered options. "Prepare to fire on the colony," he ordered. "Maximum yield. If we cannot harvest, we will eliminate." As the remaining Dravidian dreadnoughts reoriented toward New Thessaly, alarm rippled through the Intrepid's bridge. "They're targeting the colony directly," Aiden reported, voice tense. "Energy buildup detected in main weapon systems." Veronica's jaw tightened. "Time to impact?" 2 minutes until they achieve firing solution. In the deployment chamber, Leonid felt the shift in the quantum field as massive energy reserves were channeled into the Dravidian weapon systems. Maintaining disruption effects on 2 dreadnoughts already stretched his abilities to their limits. Stopping 3 more from firing was beyond what any resonant had ever attempted. "I need more power to the amplification arrays," he gasped through the neural link. "Everything you've got." "That would exceed safety protocols by over 200%, Veronica warned. "Then we watch 8 million people die," Leonid replied simply. After a moment's hesitation, Veronica made her decision. "Divert all power, including life support reserves. Give him everything." Throughout the Intrepid, lighting systems shut down. Completely. Environmental controls went offline. Every joule of energy flowed into the specialized equipment supporting Leonid's abilities. In the deployment chamber, Leonid felt the surge as the amplification arrays reached unprecedented power levels. The neural implants at his temples began to overheat, searing the surrounding skin. Blood now flowed freely from his nose and ears, but he barely noticed. His consciousness expanded exponentially, moving beyond individual systems and components to touch the quantum structure of all 5 dreadnoughts simultaneously. He could feel the massive buildup of energy in their weapon systems, atoms vibrating in anticipation of devastating release. Admiral Krezoth watched with satisfaction as targeting solutions locked onto New Thessaly's major population centers. Whatever the humans were doing had disabled 2 of his ships, but the remaining 3 were more than sufficient to obliterate the colony. "Fire," he ordered. Nothing happened. "Fire," he repeated more forcefully. The weapons officer responded with confused clicks. "Firing controls are not responding, Admiral. The energy is building, but release mechanisms are. It's as if they're no longer there." On all 3 remaining dreadnoughts, critical failures cascaded through weapons systems. Targeting arrays went dark. Power conduits rerouted energy randomly. Failsafes that should have prevented overload were bypassed by invisible forces that the Dravidians couldn't detect or understand. In the quantum field, Leonid wasn't just interfering with electronic systems anymore. He was reaching deeper, influencing the fundamental forces holding matter together within critical components. Metal alloys began to lose cohesion. Perfectly engineered connections weakened. Energy containment fields fluctuated wildly. Aboard the 3rd dreadnought, the weapons officer stared in horror as his console displayed impossible readings. The main cannon's energy reservoir was approaching critical overload with nowhere for the power to go. "Emergency venting procedures," he cried out. "Dump the excess energy." But the venting systems weren't responding either, throughout the massive vessel. The Dravidian crew raced to prevent catastrophic failure as systems they had relied on for centuries betrayed them in ways their science couldn't explain. On the Intrepid's bridge, Dr. Frost's voice came through with urgent concern. "Commander, Casimir's neural activity is far beyond sustainable levels. His brain is literally burning itself out. We have to stop this now." Veronica watched the view screen as the 3rd Dravidian dreadnought suddenly went dark, all systems failing. Simultaneously, the 4th began to drift out of formation, rotating slowly as if its stabilizers had lost power. "How many ships can he still reach?" she asked. "At this point," Dr. Frost responded, "all of them. But each passing second is causing permanent damage to his brain tissue. This goes beyond the risk parameters of any previous resonant deployment." In the deployment chamber, Leonid was no longer fully conscious in the conventional sense. His awareness had merged with the quantum field itself. His perception stretched across millions of cubic kilometers of space. He could feel the fear and confusion of the Dravidian crews as their invincible warships failed around them. He could sense the colony below, millions of human lives unconscious of how close they had come to extinction. With his remaining focus, Leonid directed a thought toward the command deck. "I can finish this, one final push." Veronica hesitated, knowing what that meant. "Leonid, stand down, you've done enough. The colony is safe." "Not yet," came his strained response. "They'll come back. With more ships. Need to send a message." Before Veronica could object further, Leonid channeled everything he had into one final devastating effort. Aboard the 5th Dravidian dreadnought, Admiral Krezoth watched in disbelief as his fleet crumbled before him. 3 vessels completely disabled, the 4th losing power to critical systems and his own flagship beginning to experience the same inexplicable failures. "This is impossible," he hissed. "Nothing in our intelligence suggested the humans possess such capabilities." His tactical officer approached cautiously. "Admiral, I'm detecting quantum irregularities throughout all vessels. The patterns suggest deliberate manipulation at the subatomic level." "By what technology?" Krezoth demanded. "That's the problem, Admiral. Our sensors detect no technology causing these effects. The quantum disruptions appear to be originating from nowhere. On the Intrepid." Alarms blared as Dr. Frost's voice cut through with desperate urgency. "Commander, Casimir's neural patterns are collapsing. We're losing him." Veronica opened a direct channel to the deployment chamber. "Leonid, stand down immediately. That's an order." There was no response. On the medical readouts, Leonid's brain activity displayed patterns that defied conventional understanding. Not just a human mind under extreme stress, but something transforming, evolving in real time to accommodate abilities no single consciousness was meant to contain. "What's happening to him?" Veronica demanded. Dr. Frost's voice was hushed with scientific awe and medical horror. "His neural architecture is reconfiguring itself. It's as if his brain is adapting to maintain the connection to the quantum field. But the cost is everything that makes him human." In the quantum field, Leonid was barely aware of his physical body anymore. His consciousness had expanded beyond individual thought, merging with the fundamental forces of reality. He could perceive the atomic structure of each Dravidian vessel, every connection, every system, every living being aboard. With what remained of his individual will, he focused on Admiral Krezoth's flagship, not to destroy it but to deliver a message. Throughout the Dravidian command ship, every screen, every holographic display, every communication device suddenly activated simultaneously. The same message appeared on all of them, not in Dravidian script but directly in concepts that bypassed language entirely, implanting understanding directly into the minds of the Dravidian crew. "This is humanity's warning. We are not what we appear to be. The weapon is us. Return and witness your end." The message wasn't typed or transmitted through conventional means. It emerged from quantum fluctuations in the displays themselves, as if reality were being rewritten to deliver the warning. Admiral Krezoth staggered back from his command console, mandibles twitching in an emotion no human had ever witnessed. In a Dravidian, fear. "Emergency slipspace jump," he ordered. "Get us out of this system immediately." "But the other ships?" His second-in-command began. "Leave them," Krezoth snapped. "Execute jump now." As the flagship's engines powered up for emergency departure, Krezoth received a final message, this one seemingly inside his own mind, bypassing his sensory organs entirely. "You cannot escape what you cannot understand on the Intrepid." Veronica watched as the remaining functional Dravidian dreadnought vanished into slipspace, abandoning its disabled companions. The immediate threat had passed, but at what cost? "Get me a medical team to the deployment chamber now," she ordered, already running toward the lift. When they reached Leonid, he was still standing somehow, though his body should have collapsed long ago. Blood streamed from his eyes, ears, and nose. The neural implants at his temples had burned completely through his skin, exposing glowing technology fused with tissue beneath. His eyes opened as Veronica approached, but they were no longer entirely human. Patterns of light moved beneath the irises as if the quantum field itself had taken residence within him. "It's done," he whispered, voice distorted. "They understand now." Dr. Frost scanned him with trembling hands. "These readings, I've never seen anything like this. It's as if his consciousness has been fundamentally altered at the quantum level." "Can you help him?" Veronica asked. The doctor hesitated. "I don't know if help is even the right concept anymore. He's not simply damaged, Commander. He's changing." Leonid's eyes focused momentarily on Veronica. "Don't fear for me. This was always the risk. But I've seen so much more than I ever imagined possible. The Dravidians? She asked. They'll return to their empire with the message. They'll tell others what they witnessed, what humans are capable of. A strange smile crossed his blood-streaked face. They thought they understood us. They were wrong. As medical officers prepared to move him to the infirmary, Leonid's body suddenly seized. The patterns of light beneath his skin intensified, spreading through his veins like luminescent rivers. Step back, Dr. Frost ordered. Something's happening. The quantum field surrounding Leonid became visible to the naked eye, a shimmering distortion in reality itself, centered on his transforming form. Not death, he whispered as his physical body began to lose cohesion. Evolution. 3 days after the encounter with the Dravidian fleet, Veronica stood in the observation lounge of the Intrepid, staring at the disabled enemy dreadnoughts still floating in New Thessaly's orbit. Earth Command had dispatched a science division to study the vessels, the first intact Dravidian ships ever captured by humanity. But Veronica's thoughts weren't on the technological treasures those massive hulls might contain. She was thinking about Leonid Casimir and what had happened in those final moments. The door slid open and Dr. Frost entered, looking exhausted. She handed Veronica a data tablet. My final report on the Casimir incident, she said quietly. Though, I doubt Earth Command will believe half of it. Veronica skimmed the document. You're claiming he didn't die. I'm claiming his physical body underwent a transformation we don't have the scientific framework to fully explain, Dr. Frost corrected. The quantum readings we recorded during those final moments suggest his consciousness somehow integrated with the quantum field itself. Are you saying he became one energy, some kind of ascended being? Veronica couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice, despite everything she'd witnessed. Dr. Frost sighed. I'm saying that what makes us human might not be limited to our physical forms. The resonant program has always operated at the boundaries of known science. Casimir simply crossed that boundary. Their conversation was interrupted as Lieutenant Aiden entered the lounge, his expression troubled. Commander, we've received a transmission from Earth Command. The Dravidian flagship that escaped has returned to their territory. Already? That was fast, Veronica noted. What did they do? That's the thing, Commander. According to our intelligence networks, Admiral Krezoth addressed the Imperial Council with a recommendation that all Dravidian forces immediately withdraw from human-claimed systems and establish a non-aggression protocol. Veronica's eyebrows rose. The Dravidians are backing off? That's unprecedented. There's more, Aiden continued. The message Krezoth delivered to the Council described humans as, and I'm quoting the translation here, reality benders, whose physical limitations conceal powers that defy natural law. They believe we're all like Casimir. Dr. Frost let out a soft, astonished laugh. The perfect deterrent. They can't fight what they don't understand, and they think every human vessel might contain someone like Leonid. Earth Command is calling it a strategic miracle, Aiden added. They're keeping the details classified, of course. As far as the public knows, we deployed an experimental weapon. Only those with midnight clearance know about the resonance. Veronica turned back to the viewport, watching the stars beyond. And Casimir, what's the official story? Missing in action. Presumed dead following deployment of classified defensive measures, Aiden replied. His name has been added to the monument of guardians on Luna. A moment of silence fell over the room as they considered the sacrifice. 1. Life, whatever had become of it, in exchange for 8 million saved, and potentially billions more protected by the new Dravidian caution toward humanity. There's one other thing, Dr. Frost said hesitantly. The quantum fluctuations we recorded during Casimir's transformation. They're still present at a much lower level throughout the ship. Our sensors detect patterns that shouldn't exist naturally. Veronica frowned. Meaning what exactly? Meaning, Dr. Frost replied carefully, that I don't think he's entirely gone. The patterns resemble brain activity but disperse through the quantum field itself. It's as if his consciousness has become non-localized, existing everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. As if responding to her words, the lights in the observation lounge flickered briefly. Not a power fluctuation, more like a deliberate pattern. A message. Aiden stared at the ceiling. That's been happening all over the ship since the incident. Engineering can't explain it. Veronica remembered Leonid's final words. Not death. Evolution. Perhaps, she suggested quietly, we shouldn't try to explain everything. Some mysteries are better left as mysteries, especially to potential enemies. 2 weeks later, the Intrepid departed New Thessaly, leaving behind a reinforced defense fleet and a colony blissfully unaware of how close they had come to annihilation. The disabled Drovidian dreadnoughts were towed to Earth facilities for study, their crews repatriated in an unprecedented prisoner exchange. Throughout human space, the story spread in classified briefings and whispered rumors. The Drovidians, the most feared imperial force in the galaxy, had withdrawn all claims against human territories. No official explanation was given to the public, but those in the know understood that humanity's greatest defense wasn't its ships or its weapons or its technology. It was what lurked within human consciousness itself, potential that even humans were only beginning to understand. Evolution hadn't finished with humanity. It had merely been waiting for the right conditions to reveal new possibilities. And somewhere in the quantum field surrounding Earth's expanding territory, the consciousness that had once been Leonid Casimir watched and waited as more resonance emerged among the stars, humanity's secret weapon finally uncovered. As for Admiral Krizoth, he never again led a fleet against human worlds. In private councils, he would only say one thing when asked about the species previously dismissed as primitive and weak. They are not what they appear to be. The weapon is not their technology, the weapon is them.